For today's lesson, we will be learning 5 types of words that are used to join two sentences with different ideas to show contrast. To show contrast means to show differences. The words are but, although, even though, and yet. These words help to contrast two different ideas. Look at these two sentences in one. It was very dark. Leo was not afraid. After a sentence like, it was very dark, we usually expect the next sentence to tell us that someone was afraid. However, in this example, the second sentence tells us that Leo was not afraid. So, the second sentence is actually telling us something that is different from what we expect to hear. To show this contrast, we can use words such as but, although, even though, and yet. Let's now learn how to join these two sentences. Let's look at the word but. We need 2 steps to join the sentences. Step 1. Put the word but in between the 2 sentences. Step 2. Remove the full stop at the end of the first sentence. So we have 1a. It was very dark, but Leo was not afraid. If the first clause is very long, we need to add a comma in between the first and the second clause. For example, it was very dark and the wolves were howling in the distance, comma, but Leo was not afraid. If the first clause is not very long, like in 1a, then we can either add the comma or leave it out. So, both these sentences are correct. 1a. It was very dark, but Leo was not afraid. It was very dark, comma, but Leo was not afraid. To emphasize the difference or contrast, we can use the word yet instead of but. 1b. It was very dark, yet Leo was not afraid. Let's now look at the words although, though, and even though. We can join the sentences in the following way. 1c. Leo was not afraid although it was very dark. 1d. Leo was not afraid though it was very dark. If we want to emphasize the contrast, we can use even though. 1e. Leo was not afraid even though it was very dark.
When we use the words although, though, and even though, we can move these words and the sentence after them to the beginning of the sentence.
For example, 1c. In the sentence, Leo was not afraid although it was very dark, we can move the clause although it was very dark to the beginning of the sentence to form although it was very dark, comma, Leo was not afraid. Examples of the use of though and even though at the beginning of the sentence are 1d. Though it was very dark, comma, Leo was not afraid. 1e. Even though it was very dark, comma, Leo was not afraid. When we move the clause to the beginning of the sentence, we must remember to add a comma in between the 2 clauses.
Teacher, I often hear my friends saying, although it was very dark, but Leo was not afraid. Is the sentence correct?
That sentence is not correct, Tabogel.
We cannot use both although and but in a sentence.
So we can say, although it was very dark, Leo was not afraid. Or, it was very dark, but Leo was not afraid. We cannot use both words, although and but, in one sentence. Do you understand today's lesson, Tabogel?
Okay, I get it. We learned words that we can use to join 2 different ideas. They are but, although, even though, and yet. To join two sentences such as it was very dark, Leo was not afraid, we need only 2 steps. Step 1. Put the word but in between the 2 sentences. Step 2. Remove the full stop at the end of the first sentence. So we have, it was very dark, but Leo was not afraid. If we use the words although and though, we have the following sentences. Leo was not afraid although it was very dark. Leo was not afraid though it was very dark. To emphasize the difference or contrast, we can use the words even though or yet. Leo was not afraid even though it was very dark. It was very dark, yet Leo was not afraid.
When we use the words although, though, and even though, we can move these words and the sentence after them to the beginning of the sentence.
For example, although it was very dark, Leo was not afraid. When we do so, we must remember to add a comma in between the 2 clauses. Finally, although it was very dark, but Leo was not afraid is incorrect.
We cannot use both although and but in a sentence.
Well done, Turbo Girl.